Forgotten Mists of Bridlewood, Chapter 8, Visitors. Sunset Shimmer slowly paced between the trees of what she had designated the play area, which was considerable, because she wanted her students to have as much room as possible to move around. Aside from the field trip, which was quickly approaching, dueling had been the talk of her classes, and they had finally zoned out an area to practice with shields and water-based projectiles. A magic water balloon fight, for lack of a better term. Izzy had also, at a request, quickly fashioned her a black and white striped referee shirt, so she hopefully wouldn't catch any errant projectiles of students whose horns were quicker than their eyes. And if she did, well, that would be points off for the offending team. Concerning the upcoming field trip, Sunset wanted to bring in as many helping hooves as possible, but was also aware that there was limited room in their vehicle. With the addition of the trailer they would now be pulling, Sprout had been able to make some last-minute conversions to the cargo bed of the Scouticus Maximus, increasing the vehicle to a seating capacity of 12, but only a sleeping capacity of 8. Sunny and Sprout were arriving sometime today with Zip, so they would be able to take on an additional 5 passengers at Bridlewood. Sunset had gotten considerably more than the number of volunteers, even after warning them that the weather was going to be brutally cold, and that the rations vastly prioritized nutrition over taste. But that didn't deter too many of them, so she had some choices to make. She also figured they would be gone for 4 days at the absolute minimum. So the head mare also had to figure out if there would be classes or practice sessions while she was gone. And if so, that would mean Izzy would have to stay put here in Bridlewood. She was sure her protege wouldn't mind in the slightest. Decreased classes meant more spare time to work on that scooter passion project of hers, which was coming along little by little each and every day so far. Sunset glanced down at her enchanted scoreboard tablet she held in her magical grasp. It was a small stroke of genius on her part. She was here to mainly observe proper spellcasting. Scoring was being handled entirely by the tablet. Anytime a player got hit with a water projectile, they scored 2 points. At the same time, whenever a defender successfully blocked a hit with a shield, that took a point away from the attacker. Lastly, if a defender managed to capture an attacker's projectile and shoot it back at them, then that was 3 points if they scored a hit. It was a system that valued agility, aim, and endurance. She was wondering how interesting and intense matches like these would get when more advanced magic started being practiced, like cloaking spells, speed spells, and teleportation. But for now, this was little more than magical projectile dodgeball. She heard a series of splashes and shields hit from a few dozen feet away on her left, and her tablet gave off an alert that one of the meters had just been filled. Lifting her whistle up to her lips, she gave it a long blow, signifying that the game was over and all spellcasting was to cease.
Alright, great job, Red Team. Blue Team, way to put up a good fight. That's the game, and I believe that means it's time for lunch. And before anyone asks, don't worry, I'm still deciding on who to take on the field trip, and what to have the rest of you get up to while we're gone. Class dismissed.
With that, Sunset set a wicker basket down in front of her. One by one, her students filed by, depositing the red and blue sashes that had denoted their team placement for the game. Then, they headed back into Bridlewood for a meal. If Sunset was honest with herself, the thing that was making who to fill up the Scouticus with was made even trickier by deciding on whether to bring Misty along. She had eagerly volunteered for the trip when it became known that it was going to be artifact collecting, without a major need for spellcasting. Sunset was truly divided on what to do. Try and keep an eye on her up in the Crystal Empire, or have Izzy keep an eye on her down here? She still didn't know what to make of the orphan who had returned out of nowhere, and perhaps Izzy's enthusiasm could help crack that nut a little bit. The head mare was concerned that she herself would try and approach the situation a little too academically, so maybe Izzy's enthusiasm would be the right choice to try and get her to open up a bit. Sunset picked up the basket of sashes and made her way back towards Bridlewood as well. Then her phone went off in her saddlebags, so she dug it out and magically swiped across the lock screen and saw the incoming text message.
Hey, it's Sunny! We're here, parking up front.
Sunset picked up her pace to a healthy trot while typing in a reply that she'd be out to meet them in a few moments. She came back to the main road into town, went to the schoolhouse, and trotted in just long enough to drop the basket of sashes on her desk. Then she walked right back out, locking the door behind her, and headed back down south to the road towards Izzy's house. Several minutes later, she saw that Sunny, Zip, and Sprout were talking with Izzy as she was no doubt gushing to them about her new scooter project. The Earthmare spotted her first and greeted her with a wave.
Hi there, Sunset!
Sunny told her elatedly, coming forward and throwing her hooves around her neck, with Sunset immediately returning the hug.
Izzy's been showing us what she's been working on in her spare time. I can't wait to see your school, and I really have to show you my new magic.
Zip snickered, then gave Sprout a nudge with her front leg. He rolled his eyes for a moment before reaching into his saddlebags to pull out a 5-bit coin and tossed it to the Pegasus.
We had a bet on how long it would be before she mentioned showing you the new Earth Pony magic.
Zip said, spinning the coin on her hoof before dropping it into her own saddlebags.
I figured she'd wait longer than 2 minutes because she already showed her over a video chat.
Sprout said, but smirked at Sunny, taking the lost bet in stride.
Well, she can show you all she wants because I've had enough portable camp food until we're back in that truck. I'd like some home-cooked Bridlewood meals.
With that, Sprout began heading into town, with Zip right behind him, also looking forward to a change in cuisine.
I'd recommend Alphabeto's Bistro on the west side, you two.
Sunset called after him, before returning her attention to Sunny.
Well, I'd say the best place to show me is just outside the tree line. That's where our classes attempts new spells. I'll meet you out there in a moment. I have to get a quick word in with my assistant here.
Sunny nodded, and headed back towards the edge of the forest from where they had come, while Sunset turned to Izzy.
What can I do for you, boss?
Izzy asked, setting down the wrench she was holding as she took a seat next to the in-progress vehicle.
I'm wondering if I can convince you to stay here in Bridlewood while we make this trip up north. I figure you could keep the classes occupied with things to do, and have plenty of spare time to continue work on the scooter since I know how much it's meant to you these past few days.
Izzy smiled at her headmare.
I can certainly do that if you want me to,
she answered.
And there's something else I'd like your input on. Misty. I'm wondering whether I should select her for that field trip or if I should leave her here and have you try to get close to her. You know, get her to open up a bit maybe. She's a tough nut to crack, and I'm just afraid if I try too hard that I'd let it slip that I'm suspicious of her. So, Izzy, what do you think?
I wonder if Misty's gonna catch on. Probably not, but maybe. Anywho, let's get on to our attentive donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Star630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Matchbook 109, JockeTF, JockeTF, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel, Sky Sauce, and Rolan, Stu Hex, Sword Butler, Mordred, Amigo, Lyra, Inside 9052, Will, Chris Twinkie, Right Shadow Moon, Luigi 88, Chancellor Crest, Pixmook 369, Bob Chichi from Under Princess, and many more fantastic people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.